Tony Herndon. I was born in High Point, North Carolina, which is central part of North Carolina, in 1969. That was 6 months after the Beatles' last concert, and a month after I was born, Neil Armstrong stepped foot on the moon. And of course, we were in the middle of the Vietnam War. When I would come home from school or later swim practice, we would always have the news on. So everything revolved around this TV, you know, and by then they weren't color in the beginning, but they were quickly after that color. But I always remember Walter Cronkite saying,
"That's the way it is. This is Walter Cronkite. Good night."
So my dad, my father, he was a veteran of the Korean War. He had one achievable event that I remember when he was talking about that, which he didn't talk much about it, was that towards the end of the war never ended, but as it winded down, there was a group of North Korean platoon that surrendered to him. So we had this relationship that was good, but it wasn't like the one with my mom. Obviously, I think most guys probably would echo that, but he was the coach of our Little League teams, you know, football, basketball, baseball. And I always liked that aspect, not because he was the coach, but just because we had a different relationship when he was the coach than, I guess, when I came home. My mom was what we would define now as a homemaker. It was very traditional back in the 60s and 70s. And so she was the one that would get up at 4:30 and take me to practice, and then, of course, pick me up, bring me home. And then I'd go to school, and then the thing would recycle at 3 p.m. or 3:30 to 5 or 6 or whenever practice was over. In 1985, there was this swim meet that we would always go to, and it was in South Carolina. So that morning, I remember we got up and I was looking at the elevator, and then the window to exit the hotel was over here. And she was driving this white Mazda 626 that she had, and she pulled up. And the door was open, people were going out or something, and then she said something. And, you know, in the typical teenager mentality, I didn't really focus on what she said, but I asked my coach what she said, and he said, she said, "Good luck and she loves you." And so, you know, I echoed that back, and that was the last time I ever saw her. I remember I went back to practice the next day. We swam in this pool that was covered with a bubble during the winter, and so we had these doors that would rotate, and they were kind of loud when they would rotate. So I remember looking up in between sets when the door would rotate and hoping my mom would be coming in like she used to come in. Most people that know me think I'm fairly competitive or understand I'm fairly competitive, and athletics is a good example of that. I enjoy competitive athletics because it takes commitment, structure, sacrifice, and one of the benefits is if you're fit, then you're in shape, and that's healthy generally, so that's a good aspect of being competitive. I usually key in on big events, you know, Boston Marathon, New York, Chicago. I did Ironman competitions for a while. So I've been happily married for 20 years. I have 3 kids, and we met in Chapel Hill Medical School. My wife's a physician as well. We spent 6 years in Connecticut with residency, and then 2 years in Indiana with my fellowship in pediatric urology. So both being a physician, she understands the commitment that being a surgeon takes. The other aspect of being a surgeon that most surgeons you talk to have all their cases stuck in their head, and they'll come home, and even though they're home, the cases that they've been dealing with are kind of running like a cine loop in their head, kind of over and over and over. So that can be a little challenging to live with as well, because you're done with work, but you're not really done with work because you're constantly thinking. So one of the neat aspects of surgery is the relationships that you build with the families. I think that's critical, and I try to do that from the first time that I meet them. I try to make them feel like they're the most important person that I'm seeing that day. And there's a lot of memorable patients, the ones that stick out for various reasons. One that I can recall was a little girl named Mimi. I didn't have the heart to tell the mom that she was born on my birthday because I really didn't know if she was going to make it, to be honest with you.
I've spent most of my adult life either in pharmaceutical sales or medical sales, and Tony is the most non-typical physician I've ever met. He's especially unlike any surgeon I've ever met. Normally those guys come in prior to a case, they're with you during the procedure and after. There's very little follow-up, and that just wasn't the case with him.
Yeah, I think for us, you know, going through the everything that was going on with Mimi and our concern, the fact that he was there even after the surgery, and they are checking on us daily, and I felt like that was just very out of the ordinary for a physician to continue her care with the family after the procedure is over, and just really impressed by his bedside manner.
He has some sort of inner drive that I've not quite seen in anyone else, something that makes him want to do everything he does perfectly, and that's what seems to make him tick. And we knew he had tons of things going on with his own young children and wife at home, but we always felt like we were first, and he's just great.
When I'm in the operating room, things are very structured, they're set up. My operative notes actually dictate operative theater. That does stem from kind of what it used to be in the beginning, was actually a theater that called the Pit, and folks would travel many miles to sit in this theater, and then the operation would take place in the center of the theater, and so it was quite an event back then. Anesthesia has really allowed us, the advancement of anesthesia has allowed us to do a lot of things more humanely, and so it's, once you go back to the OR, I think it's much different than what it used to be. However, I still have that aspect in my head that it's a theater, and it's it's a form of art that takes place when we're trying to address what we're trying to address in the operating room. Family-wise, we've been in Charlottesville almost 4 years, and similar to when I moved to Alabama, I do feel a sense of commitment to the community. It's interesting if you talk to people, they talk about the great generation and they compare it to the one we're living in and those sorts of things. I think all generations are great. If you look at my parents, the commitment, Korean War, my mom's commitment to me personally in terms of the sacrifices she went through to get me to swim practice every morning at 4:30, things she couldn't do because she probably was tired from doing that. And I think that was passed on to me and comes fairly natural to echo that commitment back to the community.